This is reflection video number 28. 2 more to go. A 30-day reflection challenge. I'm choosing to talk about forgiveness for this video. Forgiving people, forgiving situations, forgiving things. You know, there's levels to forgiveness. There's all kinds of ways to forgive. Receive forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness. You know, it's a journey. It's a process. It's something you got to learn. It's something you got to practice. It's something you got to, actually get yourself into a mindset in order to learn, live, and have and accept, so many layers. So something happened last Friday that's also very related to this topic, which is just funny because I was already going to make this video, but I'm going to get to that later. People always say, or I've always heard in my life growing up, forgive and forget. Forgiving and forgetting is useful in some situations, but in my life and what I found is that's not so simple, and that's not even always helpful. Do you think you could tell someone who's really going through a crisis, people with mental, actual, real, diagnosed, full-fledged mental problems, homeless people, people who went through tragic losses, do you think you can tell them forgive and forget? Do you think that solves anything? See, the past generations, right, was big on that because, just let things go, let it be, get it out your mind, block it out, just move on, all kinds of things, But we found also in the last couple generations up until our current generation, right, there's been a lot of conversation about undoing negative traditions, negative lessons, negative values from the past. And one of those things, in my eyes, in my experience, is forgiving and forgetting, because it doesn't solve anything. Here's the thing. Some people can forget stuff at will. Some people can easily block things out. Some of us cannot. Some of us are not forgiving people. It's not in our personality. We wasn't raised to be forgiving. We don't want to be forgiving. We don't know how to be forgiving. To ask for forgiveness. Forgive people, forgive situations, forgive things. Right? There's layers and levels to it. So I'm gonna put it like this. In all my videos that I said in this reflection video series, I talked about a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, family problems, friends, depression, anxiety, anger, loneliness, so on and so on, bullying, all that. Those are all things that you have to learn how to forgive. Whether you're forgiving the people or forgiving yourself. Whether you're forgiving the situations, or forgiving things that didn't happen, There's all kinds of things to look for forgiveness for, whether that's you asking for forgiveness or wanting to receive for forgiveness, right? It's a concept. It's really something to grasp and understand and really take a hold of and really try to practice. It really is. And I'm gonna say it like I said. I'm not usually a forgiving person. I'm not, because I don't forget things. I don't forget a lot of important stuff. I got moments where I be forgetting stupid things, stuff that some people might find important, but I don't, so I forget. But on a serious note, like, there's so many things that I wish I could forget and forgive, but I just can't. It's a challenge, right? And the thing is, you can forgive situations, right? And you can fully understand why a situation happened with a person or a thing, family or a friend, a work situation. You can forgive that, but it doesn't take away the damage or the impact that it might have had on your life. This is where I have a problem with forgive and forget. That's my main issue with forgive and forget. There's a lot of things that happen in my life, just speaking for myself, that I forgave, especially when certain things happen. Right when they happen, I forgave because I was like, I understand, I know, I get it. But somewhere deep down, even years later, some things is 10 years later, right now, at 26 years old, that I'm like, you know what? I was too forgiving about that. I was too nice. And yes, that's the thing. You might ask yourself, how can you be too forgiving? How? What's wrong with forgiving people or forgiving things and letting go? What's wrong with that? Nothing. But sometimes the flip side is when you forgive too much, you forgive too easily, you get walked over, you get taken advantage of. People don't take you seriously. People don't think you care. People don't think you got feelings. You know, so on and so on when you forgive too easily. So there's ups to this and there's downs to this, pros and cons, ins and outs, like I always say in all these videos. Right? It's crazy. So something happened last Friday with my family. I won't go into too much detail. But it was a moment that was well needed. It was a moment that was really important. It was a moment that made me feel some changes and made me think a little harder about this concept and topic and the idea of forgiving. Because sometimes, you know, yeah, we do gotta brush things aside and move on and do what we gotta do to get through the days, the weeks, the months, the years, and get through our problems and come back to it later. But sometimes there are things that do need to be talked about and need to be asked for forgiveness right away. You know, in this moment with my family, I sat back and thought about a lot. Thought about all the good things, the happiness, the good times, through the struggles, even through the current struggling that my family's currently facing. Those of you who know, you know, my aunt passed last month in March, and I can't believe it's already about to be a full month, 30 days. But it's rocked our worlds, it's rocked my world, and the whole thing I have to deal with and live with, especially on my end, you know, for me, can only speak for myself, it's a lot of forgiveness that can never be forgiven, you know, physically, in this world, in this time, in my face, verbally, you know. I have to internally process and forgive certain things. And I do, and I have, but like I said earlier, there's damages and things that can't be undone. There's questions that will never be answered. There are things that can't be closed. So what the point of this is, right, and bringing it to a close, because I'm not going to make this too long, is that you got to forgive or ask for forgiveness before it's too late. Because there is such a thing as too late. Things do expire. Time does run out. We're all not always going to be available and ready for everyone, and everyone's not going to be ready and available for us. Some things you can't get back. There are things you can't get back. And likewise, even if a person doesn't pass away and transition from this earth, you might walk down a path in life where there's no return. You don't know, and they don't know. You don't know where that person's going. And that's just how life is. So to close this out, you know, I'm a very understanding person. I can be very empathetic. I've been sympathetic a lot to people that, and in my opinion, didn't deserve as much as I gave. And that goes all the way back to high school. People in high school. Some leave that dirt. Because it's a lot. It's real. And I'm just telling y'all now, whoever you are that's watching this, you know, think about it. Consider forgiving. Learn forgiveness.